multiplayer 2 is a McLaren Senna GTR trial series. I'm just starting my first race. I painted my car when I did the test drive. It's just one of the, sorry, I didn't paint it, it's one of the standard colours. I chose the paint job. Got to do all these multiplayer races to unlock some proper paint jobs. Leave the shockwave on. Are we in Ghost? Standard mode's Ghost. Is this Ghost as well? Is it all Ghost? Oh. We got all multiplayers as Ghost. What am I going to do for a week? I'm not going to watch the news. I got excited for a moment and watched the news about Russia and Ukraine. So I haven't watched the news at all in about 18 months, or over 18 months. And it's hard to say what I learnt in the few minutes of watching the news. So I think I watched the BBC for about 2 minutes, and then I moved on to RT News because I needed more information, because the BBC just go in there loops of endlessly repeating the same thing and never getting anywhere and leaving you hanging. It's so frustrating. I need information, whatever it is, however full of crap it is. I need information to process, or I just want information. Anyway, I'm not going to watch the news again because it's addictive, like smoking. Like, I can feel its pull for more information. It's such a big addiction. And it's such rubbish information you get from any of them, so it's just completely pointless. But it was just interesting. The first words that gave me the clues I wanted to hear, because my mother confused me with her perspective on it from what she had digested from the news, and she made me ask questions in my head about, are they taking the whole country or are they just taking a region? And then I just switched the BBC on, and within a few seconds hear someone in a city someone who's in Ukraine telling them that there's explosions in Kiev. And explosions in Kiev mean they're attacking military and political targets, and they'll want to take the whole country. And that's all I could gather from. Oh, and then I could get that everyone's saying it's the worst day. The BBC are pushing this worst day in Europe since World War II, and it seems like they've completely forgotten Bosnia and everything else. And they're trying to sell on the point that Ukraine's in Europe when it's not really in Europe, but it's on the European continent, so we'll just pretend it's in the European Union for the plebs to think that it is, and they'll think Europe's under attack. And we can do all the stuff about how Europe was put together to stop war and now it's threatened. Anyway, so I put RT News on just to see what the propaganda is supporting Russia. And I wanted to know what Russia's telling its people in terms of how is it selling this to its people. And I think it's selling it based on the fact they're saying some people in some members of the Ukraine are shelling some region and they're causing deaths, but I don't. It's like, when they show the pictures of the houses, they look fabricated houses that have just been built and shot at just to take some pictures of. So it's all with a pinch of salt. Anyway, but Putin made a statement, and so first you've got the people in the house. I switched from BBC News to Houses of Parliament, to the BBC Parliament, because you can just then watch the politicians asking questions, and that was before Boris had come out and done his statement. But later in the night I got to watch more of the statement and more of the questions, and it just seemed like all the politicians, there were politicians lining up, they stand up to ask questions, and they keep standing up to ask the questions, but they're not listening to any of the other questions people ask. Boris is listening to the questions and answering them, but the people asking the questions are not listening to other people's questions, because they're all kind of asking, four of them ask exactly the same question about helping relatives of people that are in the UK So people in the UK with relatives in the Ukraine, are we going to help them? And it's all the MPs just jumping on the bandwagon to look like heroes for their constituents, and so it really is like this. It, the whole thing's now just like, it's nice that they've stopped talking about COVID, but they've made a mess of everything for 2 years. Everyone thinks they're fools, and now suddenly they get to stand up and pretend to be heroes. It's like it's that they're it's their best. It's the best day for British politicians since COVID started. Russia invading Ukraine, and I think that's the same for most Western European nations. It's like they can suddenly stand up and look like they're doing something useful. But then at the same time, it suddenly made them work properly again. They're suddenly all doing things properly and quickly like they should be, like they never do, but they can if they're motivated. It's like it's what the world needed to give it a nudge, to tell it to wake up. And if you sit down, the harder working people will take it off you. Got left a long way behind. I don't know what happened at the start. Wasn't paying much attention. So for the West, it's just this chance to showboat. This chart for all the politicians to showboat. And they're not going to do anything because Ukraine's not in Europe. Ukraine will be gone in a matter of hours or days. And Putin made the statement. Sorry, I missed the point. I didn't finish my point about what Putin's statement was, because I think he's going to take the whole country just from the sentence explosions in Kiev. But then when I hear his statement about how he just wants these two regions and he doesn't want to take the rest of the country, it's funny because it's obviously he does want the whole country, but his statement has some semantic truth, i.e. he's going to demilitarize the rest of the country and then just leave them, like just keep beating them down until they're nothing, but he's not actually going to occupy the rest of Ukraine. And that specifics, like the specifics in that mean all the people ranting about him being tried for war crimes for invading some peaceful nation, all his arguments will stand up that stop it actually being there being any legal argument against him, I think. Even if they fabricated all of the conflict in those regions for the last however many years it was said to be, 4 years or 8 years. Whoa. Ukraine didn't exist when I was a child. There was the USSR, and I don't know where Ukraine sat. Like I just know Ukraine didn't exist, and it formed, I assume, after the Berlin Wall came down, soon after that, like in the early 90s. So it'd be like 30 years old. It's younger than me. In 40 years, if he destroys it now, in 40, 50 years, it's just forgotten. With Hong Kong, I always thought people had sort of 50-year memories because they hated the British, and then when the British left, their hate at people are fighting against the Chinese and sort of not wanting the British back, but appreciating the British. But in 50 years, no one will care that the Chinese, no one will still fight to push the Chinese out. It's just this generational thing. If Ukraine had lasted 20 more years, it would kind of have more substance for sort of future rebellions to reform it. But if something broke, if Russia take it now and then something broke free later, it would unlikely be the same thing as Ukraine. I can't believe this is ghost mode. Doesn't say anywhere. And we've got Ghost in the thing. And that credits rush was Ghost Slipstream. I'm really missing knockdowns. Like, what is this? Anyway. Good luck, guys. I'm madder than you.